Hello everyone and welcome to another story time. Since I got quite a few comments about the paranormal story time that I told a few days ago, I thought I would continue and tell the story of my roommate that year that I was talking about at the end of the last video about like the hauntings and everything and the issue I had with the roommate that we had to go to the RA with. So, very long story short, this was my senior year of college. This year I had 5 other suite mates. So this suite mate actually wasn't my roommate. My roommate was super chill. We got along really, really well. They weren't there most of the time. They had like the opposite schedule of classes than I did, and they were usually out really late, like studying at the library and stuff. So it was nice because they were super quiet and we never really interfered with each other. Now, this suite mate was in the room, not across the hallway from me, but in the room that was basically like on the other side of the wall from me. And they were rooming with somebody who had transferred from Syracuse University and who I actually became pretty close with while I was staying there. And that's when everything was like sort of weird at first because I didn't notice it and my roommate didn't notice it. But my suite mate who was rooming with this person was the first to like bring this stuff up and, bring it to our attention. Now, the other thing to note is that the other 2 suite mates that were across the hall from me in the suite, the one was super chill. Their mom was a pretty big name movie actress. I'm not going to drop any names on here just for everybody's privacy. And they were really quiet and super chill, like I said. And their suite mate was really, really nice. I got along with them great, but they had a lot of like medical issues when it came to food and nutrition. The big thing was they had celiac and they couldn't eat like gluten and stuff because they have been in the hospital. Even the smallest bit of like gluten or wheat, anything like that, they were in the hospital. So they had for our kitchen their entire own like kitchen accessories and stuff. So they had their own microwave, they had their own toaster. Everything was specifically for them because they could not have like any bit of gluten. So that was just like the little backstory of what you need to know about the people that I was living with this year in my suite. So I heard from the one suite mate that I became really close with, who was on the other side of the wall from me, that this roommate of theirs was acting really strange. And at first we were like, oh, okay, well, what's going on? Because, we're new, we don't really know each other yet. So really strange to one person could be like normal to everybody else. Like, for instance, when I was in college, like, I'm a cosplayer. So if somebody who's not a cosplayer were to stay in my room and see like, oh, are these really weird costumes that you're wearing and stuff, like, that's weird. But to another cosplayer or somebody who like is used to the Comic-Con life and being there often, it's not to them. So at first I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's something, going on with that. And they're like, no, they're just, they're really strange and I'm kind of unsettled by some of the things that I'm experiencing with them. So the one night, this person was out. So we were like, well, talk to us about it. Like, what's going on? And they basically explained how they had been noticing that this person wasn't, from what they could see, wasn't showering or using the bath. And we were like, well, how do we really know 100%? Because, we're not home when they're always home. So they could be using the shower when we're not there, which makes sense because the bathroom was like in the middle of the entire suite. So once you left, like you literally were walking out by the living room. So if people were over, everybody would see you. So I knew personally I would like shower when nobody was there. So I was like, well, maybe they shower when we're not around or, stuff like that. Like, how do we know? And the suite mate was like, no, like, I don't know, like something just smells weird in the room. And I've noticed they haven't really been showering. So we were kind of like, ew, okay, that's kind of gross. But we kind of just let it go because we didn't want to judge. We didn't want to, we just moved in with these people. And my suite mate was like, well, maybe it had something to do with, this was just their, their thought process. But said person that we lived with, they came from New Orleans. And this was right after a really big storm hit New Orleans, and they were out of power. There was no water, there was nothing. So they were like, well, maybe they've been used to like not showering and stuff lately because of the storms, and like you really can't, there's really nothing to shower with there. So that was our suite mate's like assumption. But again, we were like, I don't know, like they can't not be showering because like that's just gross. So we kind of just let it go. Well, it was probably about a month into living in this suite that we all kind of started realizing, okay, something really didn't smell right. And we pretty much did come to the conclusion that this person either wasn't showering or just wasn't, like their hygiene was not good. Their hygiene wasn't good. So we were like, okay, how do we approach this in like a way that's not awkward? Because the last thing we wanted to do was go up to them and be like, hey, you smell like, you need to shower, because that's rude. And, I didn't mind this person. Like they were really chill, and I really didn't want to step on any toes. None of us did, because, we had to live with them for the whole rest of the year. So we were like, well, we have to think up a plan to like, discuss. So we ended up going to our RA who lived next door to us. And we were like, hey, we want to like think of a way to bring this up to them without being rude, because, it is a concern, because we were more or less, instead of like just the whole, like it smelled and I felt bad for the person who was living in the same room as this person, because like the bedding smelled, the room in general smelled. My cats are wrestling, and yeah, they're wrestling. But, that whole room, like, smelled like body odor and stuff. So, like, I felt really bad for them. But we brought it up to the RA, and we're like, how do we approach this? Because on top of, like, just things in the suite smelling like this, we want to make sure that our roommate is, taking care of himself. And, because it's not healthy. We brought it up really subtly. We didn't, like, say, we know you're not showering. But it was kind of along the lines of like, if you ever need to use the shower when we're home, just let us know. We'll go in our rooms and you can use it in private. Just let us know. So nothing was really done about this. And my suite mate that was living with this person said that, the smell just kept getting worse. So that wasn't like, the big issue. I mean, like I said, it was like more of a hygiene thing, but that wasn't the massive issue. The one thing that happened that this really, I think, annoyed all of us, and this is the next time we went to the RA, because we came home the one day and the suite mate that I said had all of the like health issues with like food and had to eat certain things. We came home to find the roommate that I've been talking about eating a bunch of their food. Now, they were not able to have a dining room plan, like the dining room plan. They weren't able to eat at any of our cafes. They weren't able to do any of that. And their parents used to have to come weekly with groceries, because with their medical issue, they had to eat special food and they only would buy like a week's supply. So we came home and this person was eating all of our suite mates' food that their parents had bought. And we pulled them aside right then and there, and we're like, hey, you can't do this because, they're on a very strict diet and this is all that they have. And their parents make the trip every Saturday and Sunday to bring this food up. And they can't come during the week because it was quite a few hour drive. So, of course, they were kind of just like, oh, I didn't know, like, the whole thing, even though we know that they did know, because this was the whole conversation when our other suite mate moved in. It was like a big thing we had a meeting about. So that suite mate that had the medical issue went to the RA. We went with them to basically back up, yes, this is what happened, because they didn't want to seem like they were singling the person out, and they wanted like backup proof that, yes, it was this person. So we went and we're like, yeah, it did happen, we talked to them, but we want to let you know because, this is like the second issue now that we've had. So the RA was like, if it happens again, let me know because this is more of a serious issue. Then the third thing that happened, which again, we had to go back to the RA, was we came home to said person using the person who had the medical issues, their toaster with regular toast, regular bread. So we had to go to the RA and we're like, they know. Now, because we brought all this up about their diet, about their food, like don't touch their stuff because they can't be around this stuff. And this suitemate was like, I didn't know again. And we're like, you did know. Like we literally had this conversation. So we had to bring the toaster over to the RA. We explained what happened. Thankfully, the college ended up reimbursing and buying a new toaster for this person in our suite because, it wasn't their fault. And I felt really bad because, now they couldn't make any of their food that they had to make because it was contaminated. So I think at this point, the RA actually did have a conversation with this person, was like, hey, do not touch anything in there that's not yours. Don't touch any of the food. Don't use any of the appliances. Like, this is specifically for this person. Do not do it again. So for a little while, things were okay. And then this is where it gets weird. And like I said, a lot of the other stuff, it could have just been that this person was weird. This person just did not respect boundaries and just did not have good hygiene, whatever. But this is where it gets really creepy. And again, I don't know if it was just this person and them being strange, or if it did have something to do with, now that I look back, the fact that there was a lot of weird, haunting things that could be happening in our dorms. Especially because this is the year that I said I had heard something walking up and down the hall, and I had heard something whisper my name outside of my room when the door was closed. And my other suite mates had claimed that they heard something walking around at night in the halls. So the first instance of it, I think, is when my suite mate that had the medical issues woke up early in the morning, probably 5 a.m., and went out into the living room. And the suite mate that I've been talking about, they were on the couch watching TV and eating toast, wrapped up in the blanket of the person that has the medical issue with crumbs all over it. So right away, this sparked another talk with the RA, I know they're not eating my food, I know they're not using my toaster, but they're using my blanket, and they were eating toast and getting crumbs all over it, and just didn't care. So on top of that, it was more or less just, we had the conversation with the RA, don't touch things that aren't yours. If you ask, that's fine. But again, we all pretty much had our own blankets. We all brought our own blanket from home. And it was just weird because, they had another blanket that was their own in the bedroom, but then they were using our other suite mate's blanket. And just remember, they haven't showered, they haven't washed, so this blanket stunk. It was so bad. I remember my suite mate said that it just smelled so bad, and smelled like something they couldn't even describe what it smelled like. They just said it was really bad. So they had to send it home. We had to package it up in a bag because they couldn't touch it because of the breadcrumbs that were all over it. So we had to put it in a garbage bag and send it home with their parents to wash and make sure it was completely clean. So again, we had a conversation. Don't touch what's not yours, ask permission beforehand, but especially do not touch this person's stuff because of their allergies and their health issues. Don't touch anything. Everything of theirs is off limits. So that was the other thing that ended up getting brought up, is our one suite mate was like, well, what are you even doing up this early? I knew that the one suite mate had gotten up early at 5 o'clock because they had plans for the day with their family. So they had gotten up, they were going to make breakfast, they were going to do whatever, and then they were going to leave with their parents early in the morning. So we're like, that's a valid excuse. But this person, half the time they slept until 2 in the afternoon. So we all of a sudden were like, well, why are you up so early? This is weird. And they had said to us something like, I wasn't up. What are you talking about? Just denying everything. And we're like, do you not remember that you were sitting on the couch in our suite mate's blanket? Do you not remember any of this? And they acted oblivious. They didn't remember doing any of this. So that was really weird. So we're like, okay, whatever. So then like I said, this person used to sleep until like 2 in the afternoon. I got up in the middle of the night, the one night, to use the bathroom. And where my room was in the suite was at the very end of the hall. And the bathroom was in like the very middle of the hallway. And unfortunately, the light switch was at the end of like the living room. So I had to walk through like total blackness to get there. And we had like no night lights or anything. So it was really creepy. I didn't want to get up, but it got to the point where I was like, all right, I have to get up. I have to go to the bathroom because I'm just not holding it anymore. So I did. I got up. I went down the hall. I go to the bathroom. And I open the door to leave when I'm all done with everything. And when I do, that roommate is standing in the doorway, staring at me. And it scared me so much because it's like 2, 3 in the morning. And I remember like I just like looked at them and was like, is something up? Like, hey, what's wrong? Because, you know, they're just standing there. And they didn't say anything. They literally just looked at me, laughed. They were like this weird little laugh that I can't even explain, and went and sat on the couch. The TV wasn't on, nothing. They just went and sat on the couch. So I was like, okay. So I go back to my bedroom. I closed the door. I locked the door because it just creeped me out. And I was like, no, we're not having this. So I brought it up with my other suite mates the next morning. And the one was like, yeah, I went out there at like 6 in the morning and they're just sitting on the couch. Like this time they weren't watching TV. They were just sitting on the couch and staring at the wall. And I'm like, no, dude, like that's what they did at 2 a.m. They went in there and they sat on the couch and stared at the wall. And I was like, were they really doing that just all night? Like just staring into darkness? It was so weird. Like, I don't know if they were sleepwalking. I don't know if they had sleepwalking tendencies and like they were doing things that they didn't realize. Like, again, like maybe the whole thing with the toast is like they made toast and didn't realize it because they were like sleepwalking or they had like some kind of issue. Like, I don't know. But it was so creepy. It was so creepy. And one of my other suite mates had caught them like 3 other times doing that at like 2 in the morning where they would just like stand in the hallway. If you acknowledged them, they would just like chuckle and go sit on the couch in the darkness and just stare. It is so weird. It was so weird. Oh my God, it freaks me out like thinking about it. So at this point, we went back to the RA and we were like, hey, you know, this person, we're having a lot of trouble with them. We're like, you know, I know they're not showering still. It's just, it's becoming an issue. And at this point, anytime their bedroom door was open, you could just smell something. And it just didn't smell right. I don't know what it was. It wasn't body odor, but something just smelled really wrong. And we had brought it up again to the RA and we're like, look, if you come over and you come smell the room, like even if you step in and we have the door open, the whole hallway smells like it. And I'm like, you're going to smell it. Something's wrong. And like, you know, I don't know if they're sleepwalking. I don't know if they have like depression or something going on because they're up all night and like, I don't know if they're like disassociating, but something's wrong. So the RA was like, you know, I'll schedule a meeting with them. I'll talk to them about it. So we agreed. And I think they scheduled it at the end of the week. So this was probably midweek now. I remember coming back to my room and we always kept our rooms like unlocked. Like we had the doors closed a lot of the time because, you know, we just for privacy. But the one day I came back and this suite mate that we've been having problems with was laying and asleep in my bed. And I just remember I opened the door, I saw them there, I closed the door, and I called my roommate because my roommate was in class finishing up. And I had called them and left a message on their cell phone. And I'm just like, dude, they're in my bed. I don't know what to do. I don't want to wake them up because they've been really creepy, but they're literally sleeping in my bed and they have their own bed. So when my roommate had come back, you know, my suite mate was out of my room at that point because I left the suite at that point because I'm just like, I don't want them to know that I know they're in my bed. And it's just really gross. It's really disturbing. I just don't want to. And we stripped my bed down and we brought all my sheets down and washed them because they stunk. Like they smelled really bad. And that's again because this person never bathed or never showered. And at this point, you know, we were like, this is getting really creepy. And I don't know if they're sleepwalking. We don't know. So we were going to bring it up with the RA again, but we're like, let's not get involved because, you know, they're going to have the meeting. We don't want to just keep ragging on this poor person because, I don't know, we didn't want to sound like we were causing drama. But at the same time, we're like, you know, it's really hard to live here because of all these issues. So the very, very, very final thing that happened was my roommate had in their drawer, it was a knife that was given to them by their grandfather. I think it was a pocket knife, if I remember correctly. But they had it in a little box that was in the desk drawer. They were like, this is just my valuable stuff in here. I'm going to keep it and, you know, keep it put away and nobody's going to find it. But, you know, on top of that, I don't think we should have had a pocket knife in school. But, you know, it was from their grandfather and, you know, it meant a lot to them. So they kind of just kept it locked up. But the one day they came home and this person that I've been talking about was sitting on the couch with their pocket knife, playing with it. And my roommate texted me and was like, dude, they have my pocket knife and they're playing with it. Like, how did they find this? Because if you remember, it is in the drawer, it's in a box. I'm pretty sure the box was locked too. So I don't know where they found the key. I have no clue, but they had the pocket knife. So at this point, my roommate went and talked to the RA alone and basically was just like, hey, like they went into my drawer. Some of my valuables were in a box. They had my valuables out, you know. At this point, they're going through my stuff. It's more than just like, don't touch things that aren't yours. Like they're actually going through my things. It's not just stuff that was out in the open, like a blanket on the couch or, you know, some bread that's in the kitchen on the counter. Like this is going through things and going into our room when we're not there. And then my roommate had brought up about them sleeping in my bed. And they were just like, you know, it's not right because, you know, they're going in our room when we're not home and touching our stuff and using our things. So the RA scheduled a meeting with them, moved it forward, and basically discussed all of this and was like, do not touch anything again because we're going to put you in a room by yourself. Like, we're going to have to find a single room because it's getting to the point that we were having a hard time living there. They basically told them, because I'm pretty sure they could smell them when they came in and realized that we were not lying. We weren't just making stuff up. Because at first the RA was like, I find it hard to believe that this person's not showering. But believe me, they finally realized that we were telling the truth and told them, you know, you need to shower, you need to do this, or you're not going to be able to live here. And I remember when the meeting was done, we all were kind of just like hiding in our rooms because we were expecting them to come back and be like, you know, well, I know you were talking to the RA about me, and like he'll flip out on us because I don't know, like I feel like this person was so quiet and just so weird that if they got mad, like they would have flipped out on us. Like I just had that feeling. I think we all did. But they came back, they didn't say a word to us, and they went into the shower and they took a shower. And then they took all of their bedding and they went and washed everything. And I remember my suite mate in that room had Febreze and Febreze the whole room down. And we were like, you know, I don't know, like I felt bad because they used to Febreze their bed too. Like they Febreze everything like all the time, but they went through one last Febreze. And after that, there really wasn't much of an issue. But I don't know, I feel like they really didn't talk to us the rest of the year. Like, it's like they knew that we brought it up and told the RA, which I felt bad because, you know, a lot of it was we were looking out for everybody, for everybody's sake. Like, the whole hygiene thing, you know, it wasn't just it smells, but it was also like, you know, you need to take care of yourself because if you're not cleaning yourself, you know, you can get sick. And on top of that, you know, I don't know, like the whole thing with the food, like don't eat our other suite mates' food because we don't want them in the hospital because, you know, we care about them. Like, we don't want, we were trying to look out for everybody. And I don't know, like, I feel like they just got quiet and distant. And that probably was my worst roommate experience in college. I mean, I had my very first year there was a little weird. My suite mates were kind of strange and not the greatest, but it wasn't to the point that, like, with this one where it was getting creepy. Like I said, like they would wander the halls at night, wait outside the room for you, like the bathroom. You'd open the door. They would just stare right past you, laugh if you acknowledge them, and then turn, walk away, and like sit on the couch and stare into darkness like all night and not move. Like, to me, that was very creepy, and my entire suite agreed. Again, I don't know if they were sleepwalking. I don't know if they had depression, anxiety, like maybe some other issue that was going on. Like I said, they had just moved from a very, very traumatic situation from New Orleans. They were getting slammed with a hurricane, and they had gone for a few months without power, without water, everything. And I know they were worried about their family a lot because, you know, their family was still living through this. I don't know if it was all of them, or like I said, it could have had something to do with the fact that this place was haunted. And, you know, I highly doubt it. At the end of the day, I think it was just, like I said, you know, a lot of issues that were going on with home, and, you know, the stress of being away from family, especially in a very traumatic situation like this. But I don't know. That was the year that things were just really strange. And now that you know about this roommate, I can say what I was going to say in the last video, which was, you know, the whole thing with the walking up and down the hallway that I heard when I was in my room and I thought I heard somebody whispering my name. My first thought was that it could have been this suite mate because I know that they wandered the halls. And that was my first thought. But then I remembered they were in class, nobody was home. So that was like my initial thought, and I think that's why I wasn't so scared at first until I made the realization, wait, nobody's home. And then that's when it creeped me out. But I don't know. It was just really weird. It was really creepy, especially like living through it, because it was I think it was probably at least a good 2.5 months of this before things got fixed, with like talking to the RA and just, you know, trying to, we held like meetings all the time in our suite to be like, hey guys, like here's what we're gonna do. Like we brought up cleaning schedules. This person never cleaned either. They just, I don't know, everything was kind of a mess with them. And we tried so hard to be friendly and to be polite. And like, you know, we didn't want to be like bullying and like singling this person out, because, you know, pretty much everybody who was in our suite, like we grew up in situations where we were kind of singled out, and we didn't want to be those people and like especially gang up on one person. But at the same time, you know, like I said, if the hygiene was getting really bad and there were things that were like causing us to be concerned about them, we wanted to bring it up, not to like belittle them and be like they're gross, like, you know, and they're creepy, but basically like, you know, we want to know if something's wrong. Like if it is, somebody needs to talk to them, because, you know, we want to make sure that they're okay and like get help if they need it. But the rest of the years, things seemed fine. I mean, here and there, they would be up wandering the halls in the middle of the night and with like their blanket up over their head. Like, it was just so creepy. Like, if you open the door and they had like their blanket up over their head and like looked like a harbinger of death. It was not pleasant. It was a very stressful few months in college that year. Looking back, I don't know. It was a ride. It was an adventure. But like I said, I don't know if it was paranormal. It probably wasn't. But I just thought of it after, you know, I had been talking about that final year and the noises in the hallway and everything, and kind of just made the connection, like, that's also the year that we had that really creepy roommate who used to wander the halls at night. And, you know, it was just, I don't know, creepy. So I apologize, guys. This video went on for a really long time. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but this was kind of a longer video because you needed a little bit of a backstory on everybody in the suite and everything that I went through that year, pretty much. So wrapping this video up, did any of you guys ever have any crazy roommate experiences or like creepy roommate experiences that, you know, I don't know, were not what you were expecting? Like, obviously this is not what we expected. You know, going into roommate situations, especially in college, because we used to have to take a survey and like fill out all this stuff so that they could match you with like the perfect suite mates. And for the most part, they were always pretty right. The people that they matched us with, they were pretty spot on. And this person, for the most part, I don't know, they fit. They were perfect for what we wanted and fit with us very well. The only issue was just like the little things that were really creepy that concerned us. But did you guys ever have anything like that, you know, with creepy roommates and, you know, I don't know, like them just doing things that don't seem right and maybe not entirely like, I don't know, their own will, and maybe something paranormally and creepy and all that fun stuff? And if you did, let me know down in the comments below, because I love hearing stories like this. I love hearing stories about weird roommates and creepy experiences and potentially paranormal, like possession hauntings. Like, thank you guys so much again for hanging around and listening to another one of my videos. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.